Hey guys, welcome to the Badaboom podcast. This is Chris.
And this is Troy.
So today we're talking disappointment and delays, with probably what the D in DC stands for.
Wow. No Morbius
No
today.
Morbius today. Well, Morbius, I doubt people were as excited for Morbius as they are for The Flash, Black Adam, and Aquaman too. But, some crazy news, like fresh off the success of the Batman being, critically and commercially, a huge success, DC just dropped some really bad news. So they delayed most of their slate, starting with Black Adam. So I think that moves from July to October, November. The biggest delay is The Flash, which is moving from this year all the way to June of next year. And then Aquaman moves from December to March, which isn't too bad. Also considering it was supposed to come out on the same day as Avatar 2. So I knew one of those movies was going to move. I didn't know which one, but, it looks like DC blinked and Aquaman is the one that moved. So what do you think about these delays, Troy? You're disappointed, I know.
Yeah. But I just would hate to be Ezra Miller because this Flash movie was supposed to originally come out in like 2017. And we just said, yeah, let's delay it another year. And I'm not an actor. I'm not living that lifestyle, but I think it's still super frustrating when you're like, okay, now I might not be able to do a movie because you're delaying this movie and I got to go do press for this movie and I've got to, show up on the red carpet. And I told you this when they did the trailer at Fandom. I was like, dude, Ezra Miller does not seem happy to show us this Flash movie. And now I'm like, yeah, Ezra Miller does not seem happy at all to do anything with the Flash because of all these delays. And it just, it's messed up his personal life. He's not getting paid more for these delays, but it's definitely got to be interfering with other projects he is trying to be a part of, the current projects he's doing. And for all the other members of the DC movies, except maybe The Rock, they've got plenty of other stuff going on. Not to say The Rock doesn't have other stuff going on. I just feel like The Rock can do a movie in a week and it's finished. Yeah. He's not like, guys, I got to get in the right zone. I got to get this done. And we're shooting for 6 months in the tropics or something. He turns out a movie worthy of Netflix every week.
Yeah, he's his own, he's not a businessman. He's a businessman. I think it was pretty funny too, because he has 2 DC movies coming out this year. He plays Crypto in the League of Super Pets movie. And he had announced the delays for those movies by himself. And then you're like, oh, that's not too bad. Like, maybe they're working on the effects and stuff like that. And they switch dates. And then like right after that announcement, that's when like the big bomb dropped that all these movies are getting delayed and stuff like that. I think it's more, disappointing because you had that trailer, declaring 2022 the year of heroes right before the Super Bowl. And now it's the year of delays. I just want, the DC movies just to get started. It feels like everything kind of hinges on the Flash resetting, the timelines and exploring the multiverse. So even though Batgirl doesn't have a date, that's going to get delayed because The Flash is supposed to be the movie that introduces Michael Keaton's Batman. And I'd imagine that has a lot to do with how he shows up in Batgirl. So June of next year is a long time to wait for the DC cinematic universe to get started. Because if you look at Batman, that has nothing to do with the larger universe. So as exciting as that was and as good as that was, you're like, hey, I'd like to see the Flash movie, I'd like to see the Batgirl movie. I'd like to see where this is all going. And it seems like it's taking a very long time to get started. And well, at least we got the multiverse of madness.
Yeah, and we talked about this earlier when they first announced all these delays, and I was trying to be optimistic that with these delays, they're going to be throwing up some really good pitches and casting people to set up the next possible universe. But you brought up something about, the merger happening.
Yeah, well, Discovery and Warner's merger should go into effect next month. And kind of like what I was talking about was like, I feel like maybe, especially when it comes to corporate politics and stuff like that, maybe that trailer was a way of saying, like, hey, like to our next corporate owners, we're doing really well. We have all this content and stuff like that. And I did read in Deadline that some of the delays have to do with special effects. A lot of these special effects houses are getting super backed up because of COVID, and now you have a huge rush of movies coming out back to back to back to back. I think even in the Flash's original date, either the week before or the week after Black Panther Wakanda Forever was supposed to come out. So, it was a pretty tight window at the end of the year, but I feel like DC should have owned it in some way. And it's kind of weird because like whereas like the year felt loaded, now it kind of feels a little empty. Even though they did move Shazam up 6 months to December, I have a feeling they're gonna push that back again because I'm like, you're not gonna put Shazam 2 against Avatar 2.
Yeah, and honestly, I think it was such a great play for Warner Brothers HBO to put all their titles out on HBO Max as they were also going to the theater during the pandemic. I mean, that definitely secured my monthly subscription for them. And I don't know what their main goal is, but subscriptions are obviously a steady monthly income. So I would say if they can still meet all these deadlines with the special effects, just release them also in theaters and on HBO Max for the next year. Just commit to doing it. And I'm sure they're going to make a decent amount of money. They can't have expectations that they're going to blow Marvel out of the water. But people that are true fans like you and I, if it's coming in an IMAX or anything like that, like we're going to go see it in IMAX.
Yeah.
Well, we'll give the money to the theater.
Yeah, I was excited to see a lot of these movies on the big screen. Obviously, I'm gonna still see Black Adam. I do think the 45-day release date window is a lot better than the day and date because I think the day and date worked when you couldn't really get to a theater, but being able to see these big movies on a big screen and then not having to wait too long to get the replay or the rewatch is really cool. Like I saw the Batman twice in theaters and I have a release date on HBO Max marked on my calendar so I can watch it a third time. Yeah, I don't know. I was really upset the day of the delays, but now I'm kind of like, I don't know what stage of grief I'm at where I've
Acceptance.
accepted it. Yeah, acceptance where I'm like, whatever. Being a DC fan really feels like being a Knicks fan where you're just like, I guess I was born into this. I can't really do anything else. I can't get another team. I'm just gonna keep growing these white hairs. I just feel like again, the other delays don't bother me as much as the Flash one because it's been delayed so many times, and the way it's being pitched is like, hey, this is the linchpin of the universe. Like this is what's gonna get the new DC universe started, where we're gonna have a Batman that's like a Nick Fury type character that recruits people and stuff like that. And now it's like, hey, you guys have to wait almost a full year again for that. Because now thinking about it, it's like, when is Wonder Woman 3 gonna ever come out?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Because is she part of this in some sort of way, or I think it's Gal Gadot is probably also just like, you said trilogy, and you owe me a trilogy,
Yeah.
so you're gonna have to give me this trilogy some way.
And what's weird too is like, I'm sure whatever announcements they make regarding the Flash, like after the Flash, kind of, give a little bit of spoilers. You know what I mean? So if they announce a Supergirl movie with Sasha Calle or certain things that are connected to that movie, those characters survive or where the next one's going and stuff like that. Like the further away it gets, they kind of have to get other things started. So
Yeah, but with all these delays, what else are we kind of looking forward to from DC? I know the next arc of Young Justice is coming out at the end of March. So I know we're both super excited about that. Is there something we're missing from DC? I can't think of any animated movies. It really feels like they put literally everything on hold or pushed everything back.
Yeah, everything kind of seemed. I think Super Pets was supposed to be like May or early June. Now it's moved to the Black Adam spot in July, and they maybe we might, depending where their production is, like maybe we get season 4 of Titans and Doom Patrol.
Maybe we get the Iron cut.
Yeah, but it's weird because I think part of the thing we spoke about, I think in the either in the Batman podcast or the emergency DC one, was about like past these movies, it doesn't seem like they have much going, like nothing kind of like in
Yeah.
production and stuff like that. I think part of that, has to do with the merger where it's like, well, another company is going to start paying for this and stuff like that. So it's like they're probably like waiting, and I wouldn't be surprised as soon as that merger goes into effect, there's like, here's like 6 announcements. And also like what might be exciting is COVID kind of, we look like we're on the right side of that things. Like maybe we do get like a proper San Diego Comic-Con this year where like we get some announcements, or maybe they find a way to make fandom in person, which would be like the greatest thing ever. And that's where we'll get like more announcements around like, hey, what's after the Flash? What's a little bit deeper in 2023?
Yeah, I can definitely see it from Warner Brothers' point of view. They don't want to start investing in something that their future owners may not necessarily approve of, and then their value go down. They want to keep all the money in house as much as possible. And then once it's gone through, then they say, all right, now we've got new money and old money. Let's push all those ideas out. So I think that's very possible. We could get hopefully 6, 7 really good announcements for movies, kind of over some of the TV show ideas at this point. Like, let's get some good movies.
Yeah, I think, and also I think we're, with the CW stuff and stuff like that, like I'm like with DC TV shows, like unless it's like a HBO Max one, like a Peacemaker like quality one, like I'm not getting excited for it. Like I want to see these movies. Like we've waited long enough. There's such a library of characters, and seeing like the Batman on the big screen just made me like crave these characters even more. So I think that's another part of like the disappointment. Like when I saw that movie, I was so hopeful. I felt so good. I was like high on life. And then they
Oh,
just
yeah.
fucking kicked me in the balls like right as soon, like right after that weekend.
I think you actually just lived what it was like to run into Batman in a dark alley. You were just too high on life. You got that good score, and then boom, Batman kicked you in the balls.
Yeah.
These delays.
Yeah, I thought I like ran a good like heist, a robbery, and I just litter in the street, and then I just like close my eyes and I wake up and then I'm in the hospital with a broken collarbone. And they're like, "What happened?" It's like, "Oh yeah, Batman kicked the shit out of you."
Yeah, man. Kind of feels like that in some aspect because of the delays, but also that movie was just so great. And hopefully we'll get some more, movies in the future. Like you said, let's get some great announcements once this merger goes through. This is probably the most of my life I've paid attention to some of the corporate politics of companies, because it's like you're dangling this carrot in front of me and I don't like it. But until then, Chris, where can people catch the podcast at?
Yeah, so thank you guys for listening. If you love the podcast, please rate us, subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor. We're definitely working on getting on more platforms so that however you listen to podcasts, you can listen to us. And please follow us on Instagram and Twitter. Pretty active on Instagram. And, TikTok is pretty big for us these days. So if you like memes, the memes, follow us on TikTok as well.
And with that, bada boom.
Bada boom.